chit-chat?
Go find somewhere else to loot! Hey, keep an eye on your equipment. Se los pueden robar.
What good things have you brought today? Run into trouble? I can help you. Well, except for with money.
Getting into trouble? Perhaps. Getting into trouble?
You're honest. Remember, don't be...
I heard about your marksmanship. If you want to survive on the battlefield, you ought to check...
Hello. Yo, yo. Do you have any money? We need 30k to go out here. I have 40k. Yeah, that's why we go around. As they're shooting us. I will come in behind.
Accept tu derrota, cabrón.
Bro, I dropped the helmet. Do you see him?
It's like living in a junkyard sometimes. But we have to learn to find what's useful.
Hello? I'm streaming right now. What you doing? I'm streaming right now. Okay. Yeah, good night. I wasn't mad, Leah. It was just, it was on my part. Like, it's my key is my responsibility. So, I wasn't mad at you. It's just I should have prepared more and, like, had another key made so in case something like this happened. So that's what I was thinking about. But I wasn't like mad. Like what you mean? Oh yeah, because that gap in between your files. Yep. Yeah, good night. I'm not mad at you. Alright, you too. I love you. Alright.
With Chevy Equinox, the family on the go goes in style. Lease a 2024 Equinox LT for just $269 a month. Put it in D and see why Chevy drives the Motor City.
Whoever controls the streets controls the city. I'm here now. I'm gonna be the new Kingpin of Gotham.
The Penguin, streaming exclusively on Max.
President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented.
Final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris, accept the debate. Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all, in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 20. (2025) that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us, and I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917 where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce-back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Let's just I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics. And everybody change it, and it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month. is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer. Abortion because the baby is born is okay, and that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something. For 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states, and through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get
Mike muted the whole time. Mike was muted the whole time. We ball. Technical difficulties, right? Technical difficulties. It's no, like I said, it's no way he's saying, and I'm kind of glad my mic was muted because I'll be talking through the what's in that. But it's no way he thought we was going to believe, oh, do you know what I'm saying? Thank you. Like, we gonna believe the 9 months. Believing the 9 months is crazy. Like, believing like the kid is gonna get terminated after 9, like at the 9th month is crazy. Like on the way out is crazy. Like you can't really say like on the way out. That's kind of fucked up. So I'm glad that they did clarify that, bro. I'm glad they did clarify that. Cause I'm like, they can't really just let them spew just false information like that. Like that's kind of OD. Like, I don't think nobody agree with, like, having the 9th month be a thing, bro, and then terminate the Brody out on the 9th month, on the 9th day. Hell no.
get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
She did say that in the earlier
Let's
situation.
understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next.
Yeah,
that
she
is
did.
immoral.
It is. It's fucked.
And one does not have
It's
to
fucked.
abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around
She pulled out the quote.
country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
This is a touchy subject. Fuck. Why is the world so fucked? Charlotte, why did you knock down my PC? Fuck. Like, damn. That shit is fucked up that be... Because she's saying that shit. I'm like, there's no way, but it be happening. That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
When Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President.
Yeah, real shit.
There
she goes again. Talk about it,
I'm
my
not signing
nigga.
a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban.
Okay.
Because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible.
What's that?
The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I won't have
Trump
to,
defended
because
himself for
again,
abolishing Roe v.
two things.
Wade as
Number
if
one,
he was
she said
as
she'll
if
go back
paper
to
was
Congress,
wild
she'll
to
never
me.
get the vote.
That's all. Like, this is
Especially
crazy to witness right now, bro.
Especially now with the 50-50, and essentially 50-50 in
I'm just listening to this shit like,
She's
what
not
the
gonna
fuck?
get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe.
Damn.
I
You get your student loans paid for, bro? By Biden?
My boss, he spends all his
I
time on the
didn't.
beach.
They still call him my
But look,
phone.
Her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talked.
They should have doubled down, and it was like, if you did pay off your student loans, we'll pay you that money that you paid off your student loans on some real G shit. That's how you get the vote of the people, right there. Like, don't even worry about it. You think we capping? Say this, say less. To be fair, Trump said he get Mexico to pay for a border wall. Like, bro, but what the fuck does that do right now for how it already's being not even 5:30, 11:30? You see what I'm saying? Like, what's that gonna do? What the Mexicans building the wall gonna do for my pizza cost? Like, let's put that shit. Have them niggas built some fucking little C's and bring the fucking prices down. Fuck a war.
Talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it.
$5
because
foot loans are
she'd never be
13.
able to get
What
it.
the
Just like she couldn't get
fuck?
student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people.
Nigga,
a
that's
lot of the
rent.
People that had loans. They can
That's
never
like
get
could
this
fill up
approved.
your gas
So it
tank
doesn't
back in the
matter
day.
what she says about
$13,
going
like
to
real
Congress.
shit.
So wonderful. Let's go
And
to
that is for a
Congress, do it.
fucking
The
$5
fact
foot
is that
lawn
for years they wanted to
with
get it
ham
out
and
of
cheese.
Congress and out of
The
the
fuck
federal
outta
government.
here.
And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and in asking for
I gotta
abortion.
finance
That
my
is not
Subway order.
happening. It's
I gotta talk to my
insulting
FA
to the women of
before I buy some
America.
Subway.
And
Like, come the
understand
fuck
what has
on.
been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through.
But Kamala, I don't know for some reason why I feel like this. Keeping it a beanie. I feel for strictly the financial side of America, for some reason, even if this nigga is lying his ass off, I do believe for some fucking reason Trump is gonna get them prices down. And it's gonna be noticeable. I don't know why I don't feel that same type of pull towards Kamala. It's not her whole policy. It's not his whole policy. I'm speaking on this singular thing, the singular topic, the singular plan of whatever the fuck they got. And that's not going to be my decision. My decision either or not going to be based on the financial thing. Granted, it's a big one and it's going to play a part, but it's not solely, right? Kamala just not. She kind of like don't really talk about it too. She kind of like go like this over it. Like she go in hard and just like do one of those and then finish. Trump just go straight through that bitch. I'm a fucking get the fucking Mexicans to build the wall. The Chinese people to work in the Chinese restaurants don't pay him. Not saying he should do this shit, but at least it's like some shit that's like okay, like he going through that bitch, like through the mountain. Granted, I don't agree with that. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying Kamala is not giving me like enough of that gumption and that resolve to be like, all right, she gonna get in that bitch swinging. It feel like it's gonna be year 2, into year 3, when shit might decrease by like 50 cents to $1. Then she'll be like, oh, look at my numbers, and it's like, bro, come on, bro, like you can't really fool us like that. I need something day one. Like the American people need something day. Like once you put your hand on that Bible and you finish your speech, the prices need to be dropping down, like as your words on the speech. By the millicent. You see what I'm saying? The millicent should be going down by as the words of your speech type shit. I don't know about that, to be honest. Kamala promising fair tax rates to billionaires and fixing housing shortage. I want that to be a thing, bro. I want that to be a thing. But it be sounding good, bro. It be sounding good. It's probably because I know Trump lying and it don't sound good that it's more reasonable. It's fucked, but that's just how it is. 'Cause I'm like, it sound good, Kamala. It sound good. But she don't give me the gumption that she gonna come out swinging. It seems like she'll do it in pieces over time. I want that bitch to hit. I want that bitch to clear. I want it to be green. Like, bro, I'm in. I wake up in the morning like, where are my eyes? Look out the window. Like, the air feel different, nigga, because prices done dropped. I can hear niggas like cheering and shit, nigga. I don't know. When Trump was in office, we saw some money. That's what I can't confirm. I can't deny. I just know people was touching MUNYUN, right? Granted, COVID was around, so that could have impacted how people was touching MUNYUN. But he said it wasn't because people was touching MUNYUN. It was because he was in there that people was touching MUNYUN. Do your homework. Trump told us to do our homework on his presidency and his MUNYUN touching and your MUNYUN touching. You see what I'm saying? Trump told us do our homework on that. So.
Is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Okay.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama.
Rent prices 2024 got me touching no MUNYUN.
I've been a leader on it. They know that.
Oh,
and
bro.
everybody else knows it. I have been a leader.
I get a
on
MUN here and a YUN here
fertilization,
type
IVF.
shit.
And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Oh, Kamala, no. That's not a good look. She hit a deep ass hezzy. Spit that shit out. She left that bitch over there like, come back. No. Bro, wait.
Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
I'd have been like, fuck no. I'd have probably swung on him too. For asking me some shit like that, you know, my family watching in America watching right now. You gonna ask me some goofy shit like that, I might as well go up your head. Shout out to 224 the mother, like, what? Bro. Why would she hesitate on that policy? That's what I'm saying. I be looking at shit like that. That make me uneasy when I see the homie do some shit like that. Why are you hesitating? Even if it's some shit where it's like you don't believe it now, you gotta say no and then change that shit later, like amend it, nigga. I ain't gonna lie. But you can't be on the spot and just be on some like. But you can't amend it either. That's some bitch shit too. You gotta stand on it. I'm trying to give her a way out of that shit she just pulled. Why she hesitates so deep?
You should ask. Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question,
you
would you veto?
you could do abortions in the.
Why do they not want to? Like, is that? Are you losing power if you say no? Bro, you can't do some shit like that, Kamala. I ain't gonna lie. I hope niggas ain't pay attention to that shit as much as I did. But bro, you can't just ask him a question like, oh well, what about, no, you gotta answer that shit. You have to. That's the one thing you really gotta answer. Fuck the money, fuck that. You gotta answer when it comes down to women and their kids, bro. You gotta have firm ass standpoints. No matter what, you gotta answer that shit. You cannot let that question float past, bro. That's not a good look. To me, at least. To the rest of America, they might not give a fuck. I'm saying for me, bro, you can't let that shit just be like, oh, well, you gonna abort kids in the 9th month, and it's like, are you gonna da-da-da? It's like, well, no. Everybody want to know the answer to that shit. Like, everybody set up like, yeah, they like, what's
7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth.
She's saying that's not true now, but then when you got pressed and asked, you didn't say shit regarding it.
Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said
This
we put
fucking
the baby
shithead
aside,
still
and
talking,
then we
too.
determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election
True.
to act? And would you have
True.
done anything differently from President Biden on this?
I said the same shit, Tom.
Who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations?
Watch Trump activate UI and dodge all the relevant
including some of the
questions.
most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security
Before I get
bill.
that, it's crazy because he does that shit a lot, and I'm kind of disappointed in you, Kamala. Understand that you did not answer that question. Granted, yeah, you pressing me. I don't gotta answer you. I don't gotta talk to you, a dumbass anyway. Like, why I'm answering a dumbass? But it's like, you know how the media is. You know how the clips work these days. They gonna clip shit. That's what I'm like. And you, especially people that's not gonna sit through and watch for context clues no more, or care about the context or whatever the fuck. They gonna just see that amount of space that she was hesitating and like doing all this shit. Like that's all they need. Then they cut in the clip. And then it's like, now all the Timmies coming out that don't do their research, don't do their homework, flunked out of fucking middle school, coming out saying their opinion and shit. That's why I'm like, damn. If we ain't have all this cool clip shit, AI shit going on, Shala, stop. It really wouldn't be a big deal. But they gonna clip the fuck out of that, bro. They gonna clip the fuck out of her. When Trump, it's like, that's a fucking clip farmer thing right now. He asked all them series of questions, and then your ass gonna stutter for 3 seconds, 4 seconds. That's the clip.
Which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem.
Kamala was trying to
instead of
crush
fixing
counter him, but got caught mashing. She did.
And
She thought she had DP,
this
but she didn't have it
comes
equipped.
At a time
Wrong
where
character.
the people of our country
She thought she had
actually
DP.
need a leader
Nope, this is
who
Strive.
engages in
This is Strive. You don't got that
who
shit on you.
actually addresses the
This is
problems
Strive right
at
now.
hand. But what
Put
we
that
have
fucking
in the
fan
former
up, Angie.
president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing
Put the
a problem.
fucking fan up.
And I'll tell you something. He's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams,
She's
and your
cooking.
desires.
She's cooking.
And I'll tell you,
She's
I believe
cooking.
You deserve
She's
a president
cooking.
who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Yeah, she's cooking. She's
Trump
fucking cooking.
Well, I would like to respond.
Well, I would like to shut the fuck up. You don't get to talk right now.
That would have put thousands of additional agents.
The fuck is this guy?
First, let me respond this to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light.
She is dissecting him.
She can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies.
She's
the most
dissecting him
incredible
right now.
rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation, and it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it.
When according,
they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating...
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, what are you saying about the dogs and the cats, nigga? What the fuck is he talking about right now? He's losing his mind. He's losing his shit. What is he talking about the dogs and the cats, my nigga?
It's in a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
All right, wrap it up. Wrap it up, bro. Even Charlotte like, bro, wrap this shit up. Turn that shit off and wrap this shit up. They're doing what? Wrap this shit up, dog.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far
You
as
start talking about fictional
rallies
characters,
are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase.
She did.
Make America great again.
What did he say? What did Hashirama say? No. What did it was it who was that nigga? It was a Senju. Saratobi? He said from a young age he was paying attention to the ancestors and the walls of those left before. She was on that shit. Hashirama was like, Sasuke, your brother was a greater shinobi than I. Type shit. Oh! Don't tell me she about to bust out that shit. He was feeling good. Even Danzo felt good when he had a full sleeve, right? When he had his feelings on his sleeve, even Danzo felt good. I just upped up on Shisui type shit. You know what I'm saying? That was Biden. Shisui was. I can't even compare. I'm so sorry, Shisui. I can't even compare this nigga Shisui to Biden. That's so fucking disrespectful. To fucking Shisui. Let us continue. I can't. My bad, bro. Like, bro, I can't. What is this?
Great again. It's a very simple phrase. Make America great again.
What is this? Why is it doing that?
Do it. They didn't do it.
So it was just froze right here?
Where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand.
Okay.
But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject.
Do y'all get to eat in pets part? Yeah, yes. Like, what the fuck was he talking about?
To attend one of Donald Trump's rallies.
Okay.
It's a really interesting thing.
So I was right here. Why do it tweak out right here? When do it start not tweaking again? It's tweaking for this whole time?
White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States. That he would
what the comments saying about
the
this?
Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails. Because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him.
Right.
It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris.
him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris,
can
in
never
your
have
last
too
run
much.
for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized.
As long as money's being
I
made,
probably took a bullet
everything's
to the
negotiable.
head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
We got a lot to get
Vice
through.
President
Wrap that
Harris,
shit
in the
up.
last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Yeah, talk about that.
My values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States, and in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest
In turn, fracking gonna take a hit
domestic oil
because you want to get
production in
different.
history
It's gonna take a hit.
because of an approach that recognizes
Fracking
that
not
we
gonna be here
cannot
for a long time.
over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have.
Hold on.
Protecting
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States, and in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother.
Okay, you told us this.
Who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable.
Okay.
My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams.
Okay.
My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective.
She did. At the daddy's money shot, he said,
and not beating people
it's not my
down
father's.
and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to...
Bro, she is on her MLK shit. She watched every last one of this nigga's speeches, all marches, all that shit. The I Have a Dream joint. She was watching all them bitches, reading all them bitches. She going stupid. Like, what? Bro. Like, bro. This shit crazy.
That president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now.
Oh, shit.
Does that sound familiar?
What the fuck? Yo, what's the deal, buddies?
What's going on, Lee?
What's going on, bro? Bro,
What's good?
This nigga Trump just said, "Be quiet, I'm talking." Do that sound familiar? Unless I heard this nigga wrong, bro.
You heard? No, you heard him right.
What the fuck is Doggy Bone?
I know. I said the same thing. I was like,
what?
I thought Brady was tripping.
Stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least
I'm eating this pasta that I put in the oven, and the cover. I put the cover. My dumbass put the cover on top of it, and it melted in the pasta, and it tastes like fucking plastic. Yeah, nigga.
Yeah, this nigga tripping.
That shit, like, I don't know, bro. I'm hungry though, so I don't give a fuck.
That nigga said, "I'm eating that plastic. Fuck it. Fuck him." Ain't no way, dog. I'm eating that plastic. Fuck him.
Yo, is this for money?
Oh, y'all put the money on the line?
Does that sound like different
I literally
policies?
do.
She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now.
I see.
You don't mind, please.
He running. That's all right.
Does that sound familiar?
You are.
She went out.
This is cool, bro.
She went out.
Bro, this nigga Trump is tripping bad.
You win your one wager, and then you never play again. Play yourself.
This nigga tripping, bro.
It's just that I've been making some big purchases the last couple weeks, so.
All right, well, this is our last match till whenever we playing for money. So.
Okay. What the fuck?
Out in Minnesota, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Doggy Bone tripping.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on a prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar. But they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil. These are not good things for the environment, as she understands.
Thank you.
You have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day.
That nigga did incite major violence on the Capitol, and we don't even talk about it.
Say you watched it unfold on television.
Brother dissed Solar that said, I'm a big fan of Solar. He did say that shit.
2 hours before you sent out that video message.
He said, fuck Solar, but I fuck with Solar. Like, come on, bro. Then diss Solar again.
What you did on that day.
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically.
Okay.
And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace. You know what the fucking disgrace is, Trump? You know what the fucking disgrace is, bro? The fact that niggas going to the Capitol in the first place. This not a fucking movie. This is the Capitol of the United fucking States of America. That's the disgrace, Trump. Why we got niggas inside the Capitol running around and draws spray painted on their chest, talk about Trump 2024, talking about make America great, running through that bitch looking like fucking thugs and hoodlums and gangsters. That's what the fucking problem is, Trump.
I asked, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? What are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from...
Why do he care about the border? Like, David, why do he care about the border so much? What's going on with the border? Why do this nigga care? Who coming in over the border?
Every Trump ad is that.
No, like, nigga, he got a fetish with this shit at this point. Like, why do he care so much about these niggas in the border, bro? Like,
Faked them out so crazy, yeah. Every ad is that.
every chance he get, he want to warn the American people about the dangers of Mexicans coming in this bitch.
Why do you hate alien?
This nigga is like, he don't talk about shit else but the fucking Mexicans coming over this bitch and the Chinese.
From countries all over the world, not just South
I had to play
America.
DB on that.
They're coming in from all
I had to play DB.
over the world, David. All over the world. And crime rates...
Nigga, David. The nigga David named David is the nigga that's talking to them. The white nigga in the suit named David. That's crazy as fuck. Yeah. Talk to this nigga, David.
Are down all over the world
Right.
because of it. But
Please
one
listen.
of those, David, one of those...
He said David.
people that burned down Minneapolis
Clearly
going to be
don't listen.
prosecuted.
He acted like the Titans live in Mexico.
They went
Oh,
to
bro.
Seattle. They took over a big percentage of
Straight
the
from
city of
Britannia,
One
wherever
of
the fuck
those
them
people
from.
gonna be prosecuted.
Like, they kicking them niggas off the wall and they running to this bitch quick.
You were watching an
Fuck.
on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on
Oh, I would love. I guess that was.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked
He fucking up bad. He fucking up bad. When David asked you, Trump, is there anything you regret on that day when the niggas invaded the Capitol, spray painted, naked as hell, underwear on their head, looking like a fucking SpongeBob episode? Did you regret anything you did that
Why are
day?
you fear catching, bro?
This nigga says, I wasn't even involved. I didn't do anything that day. I played no part in that shit. That was them. That was the Americans. Like, what are you talking about,
to
bro?
make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said,
Fuck.
I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened.
Damn.
Get rid of that tape.
They want to get rid of the
It
tape.
never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
Why are you throwing in that slick little remark?
I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that
Oh,
day,
she was
the
there.
United States incited
Hoger was there. Domestic violence. She was there.
to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Ozempic
And
is
understand,
crazy. Americans are so lazy.
Former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember
what is he
Charlottesville,
doing?
where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches.
The fuck?
Spewing anti-Semitic
Does your
hate.
church protect?
And what did
Protect
the
us.
president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember.
Now, I don't fuck with the anti-Semitism. There's no buts coming after this. It's just a statement. It just sucks that it sucks and it don't suck that it's freedom of speech though. So niggas can really say anything. Like a nigga can walk down the street saying some outlandish shit and you can't arrest them for just saying outlandish shit. Like you can probably for disturbing the peace, but not because he's saying outlandish shit type shit. He just disturbing the peace. Now if he's threatening people or like you gotta low key classify like oh he was threatening or he
I don't understand
da.
what I gotta do.
But you can't really like
It's a different team, G.
you know you can't really you feel me
Perfect
like
pass, but they lob it like.
the Semitic shit is weak, it's lame as hell, it's weird. It just like I say it sucked that these niggas can, you know, walk around in these fucking ghost costumes and fucking do this weird shit, but this is how this country you can walk around in your weird workout. So niggas not supposed to be saying anti-Semitic shit, but it's not illegal unfortunately. That's just how we got this shit written right now.
And it came to the Proud Boys, a militia. The president said
It's
the
unsavory.
former
It is
president said,
unsavory.
Stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching
It's
who
unsavory, for
remembers
sure.
what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand
Yeah, bro, it's plastic.
for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the
Because it's not good
chaos,
for it. Well,
and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
He said it's gonna be a what?
The candidate
fast as heck, though.
has said in this
Like
election there
fast
will
as
be a
fuck.
bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
He tripping saying some dumb shit like
Let's
that,
turn the
Trumpy.
page on this.
Well,
Let's
you
not
will never
go
win.
back. Let's chart a course
So
for
yeah,
the
you may
future
never want to
and
play
not
me,
go
especially not with no
backwards
money
to
on
the
the line.
past.
Let me just follow up here.
You're not built for that.
It was a different
You
term.
gotta
It
use
was
the
a
best
term
team in
that
the game,
related
which
to
is like-
energy because they have
all right.
destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also,
Okay, second
George
best player, best
Charlottesville. That
defense,
story has
best
been, as
defense.
you would say, debunked.
got the best defense.
Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they
All
covered
right, you
it.
never-
If they go,
and
and
this is-
it was
you're never
perfect. It was
better.
debunked
All right,
in
let's
almost
start there.
every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring
I'm gonna let my
2025
game
up.
talk.
They bring all of this stuff up.
Yeah,
I asked
yeah, let
them
your game
to talk
talk.
about
The game that you're scared to
Capitol.
play with money on the line.
Why
Oh,
are
he
we
talking
allowing
choppy as hell during the
these
debate.
millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be
You
very
happy about
proud
that?
to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous.
It's
Go
so
down to
ridiculous.
Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they
Bro,
do that,
what the
the
heck?
border is
Why did
closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people,
I wanna-
unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging
I said
that you
that,
lost in
yes.
2020?
I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look.
Why would you do
there's so
that? I
much
baited
proof.
you.
All
I baited
have to
you.
do is look at it.
I
And they
baited
should
you.
have sent
Why
it
would you
back
do
to
that?
the
I baited you the
legislatures
whole
for
way through.
approval.
Pick up
I
that
got
block.
almost 75
I
million
baited you the
votes,
whole way
the
through. I
most
said I'm
votes
done
any
playing
sitting
with you.
president has
He
ever
said
gotten.
that.
I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should
Baited
never
you
be
crazy.
thinking about an election is fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls.
Don't bait
we
me
need,
again. Don't do
and
that
we
shit
have to
again,
have
'cause
it.
you know-
we have
you
to
know
have
you fucking
borders.
with-
And we have to have
you know
good
who you
elections.
fucking with?
Our elections
Oh, why
are
do you-
bad.
oh.
And a lot of these illegal immigrants
fucking
coming
with?
in,
You know who
they're
that
trying to
is?
get them to vote. They
Oh,
can't
you
even
know-
speak
you know
English.
who
They
that
don't even know
is.
what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote.
no.
And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of
Yeah,
video.
but that's what they remember.
I didn't
I
detect
remember.
the sarcasm, lost by a whisker, we didn't quite make it.
he
And we should
heard
just
of
point out here
McMillan.
as clarification, and you know this,
Nigga
you
ain't
and your
heard of
allies,
McMillan.
60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
Oh my
standing.
gosh.
That's the other thing.
Picking you apart, bro.
They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine
Lock
a
in,
system
please.
where a person in
Let's see
an
if we get to
election
the line on
doesn't
time.
have standing? The president of the United States
Get under
doesn't
center,
have standing. That's how we
and-
lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to
Oh.
have you'll do a special on
Pass
it.
interference.
I'll
That's a
show
pass
you
interference. That's a
Georgia, and
pass
I'll show
interference.
you Wisconsin, and I'll
nowhere
show
near
you
you, bro.
Pennsylvania, and
Bro,
I'll
you
show
literally
we
bumped
have so
the
many
man off his
facts and
line.
statistics. But you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still
right.
believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President
Come on,
Trump
man.
About this upcoming
What the
election.
heck?
Just
You didn't
recently.
do
He's still
When
making
I
posts.
said those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election
See?
officials.
And that's why.
He says will be prosecuted to the fullest
There's no
extent of the
in-between.
law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, "We won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote." Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
First down.
Donald
That's a
Trump was
first.
fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that.
Damn.
But we cannot
Damn.
afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election.
Yeah, you can't
I'm
upend
going
him.
to tell you
You
that
had the ball.
I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States.
You had the ball. Yeah, it
And
was your
world
ball.
leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Damn.
And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact.
Oh
That's
my
deeply
gosh.
troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just
Sitting
tell you
right on that.
Victor Orban, one of the
Well,
most
thank-
respected men.
Anthony.
They call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up?
Yeah.
He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world.
Oh, come on,
Look,
man.
Victor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared
that's pretty
person
fun.
is Donald
Yes.
Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million
I'm not
votes,
saying
what you
that.
did. You talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. He got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time
I
is
think
up.
we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the
He thinks they're going to do very well.
hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you
Serious
said,
topic.
quote,
What's going on with
Israel
Hamas?
to defend itself
Over there with the
and,
people.
quote, it matters how. Saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead.
My.
Nearly 100
Hurry up, it's
hostages
effing him up.
remain. Just last
Block.
week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making.
What?
President Biden
Yeah,
has not
one.
been able to
If
break
only
through the
26
stalemate.
was faster, that
How
would have been
you
a
do it?
phenomenal block.
Well,
Good work, buddy.
Let's understand how we
Oh,
got
boy,
here.
y'all.
On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist
Yeah, but if they
organization,
remember.
slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were
Oh,
simply
good.
attending a concert.
Bro.
Women
Roughing
were
the passer?
horribly raped.
Yup.
And so absolutely, I said then, I said
They're
now,
not disciplined.
Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is
The
that
thing
this
is-
war must end. It must.
Start getting choppy when both sides killing innocent people. But it's like niggas didn't kill them for no reason. So you see, that's why I stay out of it, because it's like niggas threw the rock and hit the hand type shit, you know. And niggas looked at it, so it's like that's kind of how really it happened without getting into too much history and too much detail. Because this shit go way back. People can trace it back to the Bible. That's how far back this shit go. So I ain't about to do all this shit all night, but pretty much the situation, somebody threw the rock and hit the hand, and then when I responded, people saw the response.
Dang, bro.
You know what I'm saying? So I stay out of it, bro. It's just that I don't believe that innocents on either side should be getting killed, though, bro. Leave that shit to the soldiers and the people that's on the field, but don't be just killing people and raping people, like, on either side, bro. Like, that shit is, you can't do shit like that. It's war, so it's gonna happen. I understand, but I don't really like war like that all the way. Because it's just war shit can happen in war, and that's not cool. It's not a glorified, happy type time, you know, when niggas going through that. So, and then to add on to that with, you know, the dumb shit and the horrific acts that's taking place, that's what's really taking over. Because we saw the videos, we saw them, everybody in that fucking bathroom or whatever, and they threw a grenade in that bitch, kill all them people, like going crazy, just doing just crazy shit, rappelling from the sky, shooting people, blocks people in. It was a fucking horrific sight, bro.
Get a little bit in a minute.
So
Tell them niggas I'm a cool cat. F that. I was niggas I'm top dog. Headshot.
It's just a lot of history in that. It's not as black and white as people think it is. I don't know why people trying to make it seem that way, because it's really not like that.
When end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal, and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Nobody kicked it off twice.
Work around the clock, also understanding
because
that
I swore. I kicked the field goal to end the quarter.
Solution.
And then you get balling out.
Solution. There must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in
Tell them niggas I'm a top dog. Headshot.
But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran, and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
Okay.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started.
Okay.
If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known.
Something she said just went over your heads, bro. Divide and distract. Crazy. That's what they do to us. The little fish that's swimming around in the fucking fishbowl. They divide and distract us.
Wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant.
Okay.
It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors.
Go sit down.
And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia.
Fuck.
Have I got news for you? It's coming to CNN this fall. Pros and cons list.
Pro, hosted by Roy Wood Jr.
Pro, with Amber Ruffin.
Pro, with Michael Ian Black.
Ukraine, we're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop I want to save.
I was gonna say something like
that
that.
are being
I want the war to stop. I
uselessly
don't want, you know, people to get
killed by
hurt.
the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But
Wait. Did this nigga say pay up or we not going to protect you no more? Like we the fucking Yakuza? What is he talking about?
How many audibles? Don't get a false start.
Pay up or we're not going to protect you, Mrs. Chan.
happening. We're in for 250
is
to
he talking about?
275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president.
But yeah, am I tripping, my nigga? Like
president-elect. And what
this
I'll
nigga
do
the
is I'll
Yakuza.
speak to one, I'll speak to the other. I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after
Going to hell,
building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because
Wrong.
Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify here...
I thought you said we don't even know if he's alive. I'm like, oh,
we don't even know.
shit.
Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify...
Threw him out of... Oh, if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is
That
up.
doesn't know he's alive?
Do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for
fuck?
Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also, as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Oh!
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania.
Whoa.
And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO
What did Trump say about guns
are
earlier?
So
I wasn't paying attention to that part.
that you are no longer president.
Being honest, I don't know what the fuck he was saying about guns earlier. I don't know. He just be talking about shit. He said Biden wasn't alive. He don't know what Biden don't know he breathing. Whatever the fuck he said about Biden. I don't know what the fuck he was saying about guns, bro. Like, I
And
gotta
that
go back to that
we
part too.
understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Oh, that's crazy. Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now.
Quiet, please, is crazy.
But eventually,
Loki thought I was watching Bebop when he said, "We got a president who doesn't know why."
Talk about that. Got nuclear weapons.
Literally, on some Cowboy Bebop shit.
And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and
This is a
maybe
fucking time
hasn't
to
been
do
that
love.
threatening. But he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it.
Spikes,
Just so you understand,
for real.
they sent her
Hunger's
to
the best
negotiate peace
spice.
before this war
Type
started.
shit.
3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was
Like,
we
bro,
days down.
he just be
Maybe
saying
nuclear
dumb
weapons.
shit.
Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started.
Crazy.
She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country.
Okay, you just
she
saying
goes
that.
down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming
What are
from
you
this fellow.
doing?
And that is another one.
Oh man, that's my bad. That's my bad. Oh, I didn't think you would beat him like that.
Look at this nigga face, man.
Look at that. Yep.
It's no way. It's no way. It's no way. It's no way he talking about she done met Putin and all that. She like, bro, I've never even been over in Russia, bro. I'm gonna be a butt with you. I ain't never even been over there, bro. Like, I never been. I never been to that side of the world. Fuck, bro.
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
You talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it.
Yakuza!
He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why don't you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed.
We're not defending our allies without the
negotiated by
MUNYUNs.
Mike
That's true.
Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it.
Oh my gosh.
The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
and
on.
these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm
I don't
asking...
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do. I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at
I say Kamala.
I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people, knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris.
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Briefly, clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people.
About to call it. It's getting late. Dozing off right now. I rock with y'all. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. How y'all stopping by? I'm about to call it, and I'll finish up this piece a little later on. But yeah. About to call it, y'all. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. It was fun. It was cool. I'm going to catch y'all tomorrow, alright? Y'all be cool. Y'all be cool. Alright.